The gym smelled like sweat, rubber mats, and the ego of 100 Marines who thought they'd seen everything. Sarah Martin stood quietly near the corner, 5 feet of soft-spoken stillness in an oversized Army PT shirt. Officially, she was the new physical therapy assistant. Unofficially, no one paid her any attention. That was the point. Corporal Dane noticed her first. A big man with bigger opinions. He smirked as she stepped onto the mat for warm-up rotations. "Careful, guys," he said loudly. "Don't break the tiny medic." A few Marines laughed. Sarah didn't respond. She rarely did. She simply bowed her head slightly, the way someone trained, not timid, might do. Dane didn't like being ignored. During the next rotation, he moved behind her without warning, wrapped both hands around her neck, and wrenched her backward into a chokehold. Gasps and laughs erupted instantly. "Hey, look at this. She weighs like, 90 pounds? Come on, Doc, fight back." Sarah didn't fight. She didn't claw. She didn't struggle. She just breathed. Slow, steady, controlled, like someone who'd been choked before and learned something from it. Dane squeezed harder, veins bulging. But Sarah's eyes didn't change. No fear, no panic, just observation, like she was studying him. That unsettled a few Marines. Why isn't she passing out yet? Is she even? Then someone noticed it. A metallic black glint beneath her collar. Not dog tags. Not rank. Something else. A plate? A badge? A symbol? Before anyone could question it, Dane shouted, "Say you quit." Sarah finally spoke, voice calm even through the pressure around her throat. "I warned you once." He didn't hear the warning, but every Marine watching felt it. And before we get into what happened the moment Sarah stopped pretending to be helpless, hit that subscribe button and tell us where you're watching from. What comes next shocked everyone in that gym. Dane's hands tightened around Sarah's throat, fingers digging in, muscles flexing with the confidence of a man who believed he owned the room. But Sarah? She inhaled. Not a gasp, not a desperate snatch of air. A slow, measured breath, like she was meditating, not being choked. The laughter around the gym wavered. Is she breathing? No way. He's got both hands on her. What the hell is she doing? Sarah's voice slipped through the chokehold. Soft, calm, eerily controlled. "Corporal, that's a violation of Article 128. Dane blinked. "What? Assault," she clarified gently. "On a superior." More Marines froze at that word. Superior? But before they could react, Sarah's body shifted. Just one small shoulder movement. So subtle, it looked accidental. It wasn't. Dane suddenly lurched forward as if his balance had been ripped out from under him. His choke collapsed, wrists slipping out of alignment, his center of gravity taken without him understanding how. Sarah didn't fight him. She didn't strike him. She simply moved, precisely, economically, and the choke evaporated. In the space of a breath, she stood free. Dane stumbled back, eyes wide, hands hovering in the air where her neck had been. What did you just?" Sarah straightened her collar calmly, as if she had stepped out of a mild breeze rather than a full-force chokehold. She looked at him with clinical detachment. "I measured your intent," she said softly. "You chose poorly." The entire gym went dead silent. Because whatever she was, one thing was suddenly clear. Sarah Martins wasn't a helpless medic, and she definitely wasn't normal. Dane's panic came out as a scream. "Get her!" 2 Marines didn't hesitate. Big, confident, fully trained. The kind of men who could break boards, drag casualties, and win most sparring rounds without trying. They charged her from opposite angles. Sarah didn't move. Not until the very last possible fraction of a second. Second one. The first Marine reached for her arm. Sarah rotated her wrist, just an inch, guiding his momentum past her. Her fingertips pressed behind his jawline, hitting a nerve cluster he didn't even know existed. His legs gave out instantly. He collapsed without a sound. Sarah never looked at him. Second two. The second Marine lunged, aiming for a tackle. Sarah shifted her stance a half step, redirecting his force. Her forearm brushed his throat at a precise angle, not enough to injure him, but enough to cut his airflow for a heartbeat. His body panicked before his mind did. He dropped to his knees, gasping. Second, 3 to 5. Sarah stepped between their falling bodies, catching the second Marine before his head hit the mat. She lowered him gently, respectfully, as he tried to understand why he suddenly couldn't breathe. She whispered, "Calm. The airway will reopen." And it did. Both Marines lay on the floor, not in pain, but in total shock. The gym went silent. Hundreds of eyes stared, the same realization spreading like electricity. No Marine combatives course teaches that. No Army program moves like that. This was something else, something higher. Dane shook his head in disbelief. Who are you? Sarah didn't answer. She didn't need to. When Sarah straightened her posture, the rip in her collar widened just enough for something to slip free. A metallic plate hit the mat with a sharp, unnatural clink. Every Marine froze. One of the younger privates stepped forward, curiosity beating out common sense. He picked up the object, expecting a normal ID tag. The moment he saw it, his face drained of all color. It wasn't a standard dog tag. It wasn't even regular SEAL insignia. It was something far rarer. A black trident, matte, not polished, set over a fractured circle, like a symbol cut apart and reforged. Stamped with cold precision. SEAL Unit 013. Pressure Ops ***. A murmur rippled through the gym. No way. That can't be real. Unit 013? I thought that was a myth. Pressure Ops. A whispered legend in naval special warfare. A classified SEAL unit trained to endure what no human should. Suffocation drills, oxygen deprivation, black site interrogations, the missions where survival wasn't expected. The unit that supposedly died to a man on a blackout operation 20 years ago. Every operator listed Kia, meaning, by every official record, no one from 013 should still be alive. The private's hands shook as he offered the plate to Sarah, unable to speak. Sarah stepped forward slowly and retrieved it between two fingers. Her voice dropped to a razor-thin whisper, calm but carrying through the entire gym. You were never cleared to see that. The air thickened. Phones lowered instantly. Even the senior NCOs stepped back. Because whatever Corporal Dane thought he was choking a moment ago, it wasn't just a medic. It wasn't just a soldier. It was a ghost from a unit that was never supposed to exist. The gym doors slammed open so hard the sound echoed off every steel beam in the rafters. Base MP sirens blared down the hallway. Boots thundered against the concrete floor. Marines snapped to attention on instinct. They'd never seen a response team move that fast inside a domestic facility. For military police entered first, weapons holstered but hands ready. Behind them strode the base executive officer, full uniform, face pale, breathing hard like he had sprinted the whole way. He scanned the room, saw the bodies on the floor, saw Sarah standing alone, calm, her collar torn, the forbidden black trident plate glinting between her fingers. The XO froze. Then, he saluted. Crisp, perfect, immediate, in front of the entire gym. The Marines watching felt their guts drop. Corporal Dane, still wheezing on the floor, blinked in confusion. He just saluted her? The XO's voice projected like a cannon blast. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Martins, United States Navy SEAL, Unit 013. A wave of shock crashed through the gym. Someone actually whispered. That unit was wiped out. Another said, she's from 013? How the hell? The XO ignored everyone and addressed the room with formal precision. She has been operating undercover on this base for 5 weeks, conducting a classified evaluation of discipline, conduct, and inter-branch integrity. His eyes swept across the frozen Marines. Today's incident was recorded. Multiple personnel failed their assessment in under 30 seconds. All eyes shifted to Dane, who now looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. His hands shook. His breathing hitched. Sarah didn't move, didn't gloat, didn't even look at him. She simply closed the insignia plate in her fist. The XO finished. Corporal Dane and all involved Marines are hereby placed under immediate disciplinary review and detainment pending investigation. Silence. Not a breath. Not a shuffle. Because every Marine in the room had just realized. They hadn't assaulted a harmless medic. They assaulted a legend from a unit that wasn't supposed to exist anymore. The MPs moved in with cold efficiency. Dane was the first to be cuffed. He didn't resist. He couldn't. His arrogance had evaporated the moment he learned who he'd put his hands on. 2 more Marines were restrained beside him, eyes wide, still trying to understand how everything had gone wrong so fast. The base XO stepped back, giving Sarah room as she raised her encrypted tablet, the matte black kind only tier-level operators ever carried. With a swipe, the entire gym lit up with a soft chime from the ceiling. Hidden cameras. Every Marine looked up in horror. They hadn't even realized the facility was outfitted for covert evaluation. Sarah had been watching them long before today. She tapped the screen, reviewing footage from multiple angles, including the exact moment Dane wrapped both hands around her throat like she was nothing. Dane's voice shook as he tried to speak through the MP's grip. "Ma'am, Commander, I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know who you were." Sarah didn't look up from the tablet. Her voice was soft, but it cut sharper than a blade. "That's the problem, Corporal. You only respect people when you think they outrank you." She finally met his eyes. "You don't respect rules. You don't respect boundaries. And you don't respect people." Dane's knees nearly buckled. The XO began reading the formal charges. Assault, hazing, disrespect to a superior officer, abuse of authority, conduct unbecoming. Each word hit the room like a hammer. Around them, Marines who had laughed moments earlier now stood stiff, shame burning across their faces. Not because they'd attacked a SEAL, not because they'd failed a test, but because they'd realized they had become the exact kind of Marines they swore they'd never be. And Sarah had seen every second of it. For a long moment, the gym stayed silent. No clang of weights, no whispers, nothing. Just the sound of Sarah Martins stepping forward, tablet lowering to her side. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. "Some of you think 13 was a myth," she began calmly. A few Marines swallowed hard. "It wasn't." She paused, letting the weight of that truth settle over the room. 13 was created for missions no other SEAL unit could survive. High-pressure extraction, hostage rescue under torture conditions, zero-oxygen combat, deep-water infiltration. Several Marines shifted uncomfortably, suddenly aware of how small their earlier bravado looked. "We trained to survive what kills most people in seconds." Her voice softened. "We trained to keep breathing when the body screams to stop. To stay conscious when your vision narrows and your lungs collapse." Someone whispered, "That's impossible." Sarah heard it. "No. It's discipline under pressure. It's choosing control when instinct begs for panic." She took another step. 13 operators were chosen from those who already died once on record, who had survived suffocation, drowning attempts, torture, who understood fear intimately and mastered it. A ripple of disbelief moved through the room before she delivered the blow. "There were 13 of us." She glanced at the floor for the first time, and her voice thinned, barely perceptible. 12 died on a mission I still can't speak about. I came back alone. I wasn't the strongest. I was just the last one breathing." Silence deepened, not from fear, but from an ache none of them expected. Her final words were quiet, but they hit harder than any strike she'd thrown. Strength isn't aggression. Strength is breath. Strength is control. Strength is discipline under pressure. No one looked her in the eye. For the first time, they understood the weight she carried. The gym emptied slowly, Marines scattering in shaken silence, but Sarah Martins didn't wait for any of them. She walked out the side doors alone, the evening sun bleeding orange across the base. Her collar was still torn where Dane's hands had ripped it. The faint outline of the 13 emblem pressed cold against her skin. Each step she took was quiet, deliberate, almost ghost-like. Outside, the air was cool. A breeze brushed the place his hands had tried to choke, but it didn't bother her. She'd endured tighter grips, deadlier ones, on darker nights. Halfway across the courtyard, her encrypted phone buzzed. She stopped walking. The screen lit up with a message she never expected to see again. Not after 20 years. Not after the funerals without bodies. Not after she swore she'd never go back. Unit 13, reactivated. Operative Martins, report 0500 hours. Mission type, pressure exfil. Status, ghost clearance. Sarah exhaled once, slow, steady, unshaken. 13 was dead. Buried. A secret sealed shut with the lives of 12 extraordinary operators. If they were calling her now, something catastrophic was coming. She reached into her pocket and pulled out the fallen plate. The black trident over the fractured circle. The mark that belonged to ghosts, not living SEALs. She slid it back beneath her torn collar, letting it rest against her skin where it belonged. Then, without hesitation, she kept walking. Away from the gym. Away from the shocked Marines. Away from the life she pretended to live. Her silhouette stretched long in the dusk, small, steady, unbreakable. A lone survivor returning to the darkness that still needed her. Unit O, 13 had risen again, and Sarah Martins was already breathing for the fight.